Hi everyone, this is Maureen. Welcome to my screencast of the Triangulated Analysis of English 103, Improvement of College Reading and Study Skills. To give you a bit of background, this is a developmental course at Santa Barbara City College. I'm the tutor for this course, so I'm in the classroom and working alongside the instructor and the students. When I began this triangulated analysis project, I intended to focus on vocabulary as my area of literacy. However, as the course went along, I realized that the main focus was the development of writing skills. Therefore, my presentation today is going to focus on writing and how the curriculum of this course addresses this area of literacy. To begin, it might be important to note that the professor of this course, Dr. Anita Cruz, has a PhD in educational psychology. She and I have had many discussions regarding theoretical perspectives and how they relate to this course. The curriculum for English 103 is developed largely under the umbrella of constructivist theory. Although elements of behaviorism exist in the form of lectures, and a social learning perspective has a great influence on the atmosphere of the classroom, the class has a definite constructivist feel to it. For example, schema theory and to some extent associationism is used in this class when new topics are introduced. The theme of this course is sustainability, which many students do not enter the classroom with prior knowledge of. As a result of the lack of prior knowledge, the instructor and I often begin with a free-form discussion of what students know about a certain topic. One word is written on the board, such as humanity, and students are expected to brainstorm in small groups, partners, or as a class to their connections to this term. Transactional reader response theory is included in an exercise where the students identify the purpose, audience, persona, and argument of a text and its author. When this information is gathered, the students synthesize their answers and create a poster, an example of inquiry learning. Finally, engagement theory sees its application in the form of book clubs, where the students are allowed to select which book choice they want to read, as well as their assigned roles during the book club meetings. Next, we have an exploration of the best practices of writing used in this course. This course, as I have mentioned, is focused on the development of reading and writing skills, with 5 essays written over the course of a 15-week semester. One of the strengths of this course is the use of authentic literature used as a model for students. The students are assigned articles, textbook readings, and nonfiction books representing many rhetorical styles. Direct instruction is another best practice used in this course, whereby the instructor provides explicit instruction through PowerPoint lectures on grammatical elements in the readings and how those elements can be utilized in the students' own papers. The students begin papers with outlines and handwritten rough drafts, an example of self-regulated strategy development. The students also review each other's work in peer editing exercises during something we call revision workshop. The students are using a best practice of writing as they critically evaluate their work and the work of others and engage in the process of revision. Lastly, the use of the Writing Center and the Gateway Tutor, that's me, represent another best practice because, according to Morrow and Gambrill, quote, students should have sufficient instruction, guidance, and practice to allow them to become accomplished, end quote. The weaknesses of this course are areas where best practices have not yet been implemented. For example, because the class is focused on writing skills in order to pass on to English 110, there's simply not enough time for the development of key skills such as vocabulary development, graphic organizers, and creative writing. The focus is on developing expository papers, so creative writing is relegated to journal entries. Vocabulary development is somewhat included in the practice of annotation, but the students are asked to look up unfamiliar words on their own. Graphic organizers are not used in this course, but from my own personal experience, I know these strategies are taught in other courses in this department, such as English 70 and English 80. Self-efficacy can be an issue for students. As their tutor, I've noticed that what stops many students in the beginning of writing is the strong belief that they are not good writers and that they won't be able to understand the article. As their tutor, I often go through the prompt for the paper, the main points of the article, and how to develop a thesis. With my help, the students often report higher levels of self-efficacy, but they also need to be able to master this skill without the use of a tutor, which is not available in every class. Another weakness is the lack of prior knowledge concerning many subjects for some students in the class. A way to counteract this weakness is to provide intro lectures that cover the basic points and vocabulary of a new theme in the course. Lastly, the instructor of this course has decided not to give any exams or quizzes, which leads to a lack of preparation of exam strategies. This can be perceived as a weakness because the students are required to take an exam in order to pass to the next English course at this college. The standards by which this course were analyzed are called the Course of Study Outlines. These standards were developed by the English Skills Department of Santa Barbara City College. The standards are currently being revised, but they are available through the sbcc.edu website. The standards focus on reading and study strategies. For example, Standard 2 states, apply active reading and study strategies using assigned readings independently. The students are required to annotate any assigned readings from textbook chapters, articles, nonfiction books, and even poetry. Standard 1 states, present verbal and written interpretations of assigned readings using textual evidence. This is accomplished by the development of expository papers. The students must read and annotate an article, develop a thesis in response, find supporting details, and compose an argumentative paper. Another example of the standards that dictate the objectives of this course is Standard 5. Participate actively in a reading community. English 103 fulfills the standards because the students are assigned to a book club group. Each book club is reading a different nonfiction book related to the theme of sustainability. The students must meet in groups in the classroom to discuss events in the book, answer questions, and make predictions. Standard 3 states, apply exam strategies, meaning that the students should be taught to apply exam strategies during testing. English 103 does not fulfill this standard because the professor for this course has decided not to give any tests or quizzes. The students are therefore not prepared explicitly with any test-taking strategies. My recommendation would be to incorporate low-stress exam preparation with discussions or feedback in a group setting. Obviously, I have not included all the standards in this screencast, but almost every standard, with the exception of Standard 3, is fulfilled by English 103. And lastly, I just want to leave you with this picture of our campus with the beautiful Santa Barbara Harbor in the background. Thanks for listening.